So, I'm assuming you wish you had better power, speed, or just better athletic ability in general. Well, today I'm covering what the best muscles are to train to enable you to improve just that. By the end of this video, you'll know what to change about your current plan, or if you don't have one already, what to include in it. But why trust me? Well, I'm a gym rat and a martial artist, and I know how to combine them well to supplement each other. In addition to that, I spend time looking at a large handful of fighters who are the most athletic and the least athletic, and I figured out what they were doing wrong so you can avoid it yourselves. I'll be showing you what mistakes you're making, what muscles to train, and how to put it into a plan that'll enable you to see great gains. Before we get into the best muscle though, here are some of the mistakes you're making. Now, the first mistake a lot of you might be guilty for, but I can almost guarantee you've done it, or are doing it. And while the mistake is very tempting to do, if time is not in your favour, then this one certainly needs to be cut out. And that's doing isolation work. But what is that? Well, exercises such as the bicep curl or tricep curl, exercises that target only one muscle. And while when it comes to combat sports, not all muscles are equal, compound exercises, exercises that target more than one muscle, so your bench, deadlift and squat, is bound to save you so much more time. You need to find the right balance of doing isolation work as well as compound lifts, or if you're short on time, just cut out the isolation work entirely. This next one is also a very common one, and you might do as well, and it's actually to do with your training frequency. When we train, some people have the belief that more equals better, but this belief is a problem. In fact, oftentimes decreasing your training frequency might result in better gains. When we train every day, especially if you're a beginner, you don't let your muscles heal enough to see reasonable results. Instead, just training them again before they can grow. Not to mention the injuries you might get. Number 3 sort of ties into the first one, and that's training the wrong muscles. But what are the wrong muscles to train, and what should you be doing instead? Firstly, there are no wrong muscles, necessarily just ones that will contribute to combat sports better than others. For example, training your thumb muscle probably won't have much of an impact on your fighting ability. So what muscles will? Well, the first, perhaps most obvious one, and one you probably train wrong, is your core or abdominal muscles. This is because core stability is the foundation for a high force production, basically meaning stronger abs equals more power. But while this is true, the exercise you have chosen for your abs currently just won't cut it. Exercises such as sit-ups, crunches may help to build muscle, but won't help at all much with building stability. A plank where you constantly touch the opposite shoulder while keeping your core active and stable is a good example of a core exercise that builds stability. A simple way of looking at it is, instead of exercises where you push through resistance, like your sit-up, change them to exercises where you resist movement, keeping your core stable. Now, moving on to the next muscle, or rather group of muscles, and that being the legs. Now, assuming your technique is right, every strike starts from the legs. The legs act as a foundation for your power and speed. The more explosive you can make your legs, the more power you have. But how do we do this? Well, at first we can use plyometrics and body weight, then eventually transition into weighted plyometrics or weighted calisthenics. This forces you to overcome a force that's getting gradually heavier, in turn making you more explosive over time. So is there any more? Well, yes, of course, but for me, I like to keep things simple. With just them 2 points added into your current plan, you can go a long way. But if you want to add more into a plan, then really just focus on more compound exercises over isolation work, while aiming to be more explosive. It's that simple. But what would be a good example of this? And how do we put it into a plan? Well, let's go over what to do if you don't have a plan. Without getting into the nitty-gritty details of progression, exercise selection, and how frequent you should be training, what I will say is keep things as simple as possible at first. Stick to your compound exercises, apply progressive overload, and don't train every day. While also remembering that this type of training doesn't overcome or replace your actual combat sport training, but rather complements it instead. So if you already have a plan, then just make sure to use what I've taught you today and merely just tweak a few things to better match it.